Welcome to the Renegade Health Boss podcast, where we push the boundaries of what's possible in health and wellness. I'm your host, Heather Gray, a certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and certified bioenergetic practitioner. And each week we dive deep into the world of physical, mental, spiritual health, biohacking, relationships. But we're not just talking about the basics. I'm bringing you conversations with the true renegades, experts who are challenging the status quo in their fields, breaking barriers, and uncovering the real truth behind what it takes to live an incredible, joy-filled, and optimized life. If you're ready to step out of the ordinary and step into a life of extraordinary health and happiness, you're in the right place. Let's get started on this journey to becoming your own Renegade Health Boss. And before we jump in, let's hear a word from our sponsor. You're already empowering your patients to lead a healthier, more vibrant lives. As a practitioner, you're at the forefront of extending their health span, promoting strength, vitality, and overall wellness. It all begins with the right support, trusted high-quality nutritional supplements. At MHP Vitamins, we provide premium, practitioner-grade supplements designed to support the unique needs of your patients. Whether they're fighting inflammation, boosting energy, or enhancing immune function, our scientifically backed formulas help them thrive. As a trusted practitioner, your recommendations make a significant impact. At MHP Vitamins, we're committed to providing you with the tools to continue supporting your patients on their journey towards ideal health. The premium supplements are carefully formulated to target specific health concerns and deliver the essential nutrients your patients need to thrive. Dedicated to making sure your practice runs effortlessly by offering top-tier customer care, same-day shipping, and the efficacy of our new office and warehouse. Through our affiliate program, you can extend these benefits directly to your patients and provide them with trusted, high-quality products while providing a valuable partnership that supports both you and your patient's health span and your practice. Join the growing community of health professionals who trust MHP Vitamins to empower their patients' health journeys. Together, we can support wellness, one patient at a time. Yay! Welcome, Dr. Nathan, to the show.
Heather, great to see you. Thanks for
It's good seeing you too.
Yeah.
I love following you on social media. We have something in common I'm not sure I told you about, but I used to be a rodeo queen.
Really?
Yeah, I used to ride barrels and break horses, and I see you out there steer roping, and I was like, oh, hey, something we could talk about. But the last time I saw you, it was like 2 seconds worth of a blip that we never really got a chance to catch up.
Yeah, yeah. Like two ships passing in the night, right?
Right, right. You're in Texas, correct?
I am. I'm about
That's
an hour northeast of Austin.
okay, very cool. Yeah, I'm a little jealous. I haven't been on the back of a horse in probably 10 years now.
I
So,
really, for me,
yeah.
it's been about 3 days.
I know. I watch your videos and I'm so jealous. I'm like, I want to come visit. I want to
Yeah,
come ride.
an open invite.
Oh, sweet. Deal. I'll end up on your doorstep. And you're like, damn it. She was legit. Um, I love this conversation we're having today. Nitric oxide was a huge game changer in my own health in such a weird way. You know, a lot of times people get into it because they hear about like the cardiovascular benefits, or for me, it was, sexual health benefits. And it turned out I didn't realize living in Colorado, I thought I just had naturally dry eyes and dry mouth. Like I
Yeah,
didn't realize that I was missing saliva from my mouth until I started taking nitric oxide at a certain level. And if I've been told that the saliva is like the ocean and your teeth are like coral, and if you don't have enough saliva in your mouth, like I was being susceptible to a lot of cavities, and it was driving me
yeah,
bonkers because I've got excellent oral care. Turned out this nitric oxide helped get me the right saliva in my mouth. It's insane, but there's just been so many benefits. So I'm so excited to talk about this today. Like I would love to dive in of who are you, what's your background, and how you got started in nitric oxide.
who am I? Good question.
Who are you? I know you're freaking hilarious. When you filled out the form, I was like, how do I know you? And you're like, I know people.
I know people.
I know people.
I know a guy. Yeah, we all know a guy.
Right? We
No,
know a guy.
I'm a small town Texas boy. Grew up in small town Texas and went to University of Texas, got a degree in biochemistry. From there, I went to LSU School of Medicine and got a PhD in molecular and cellular physiology, did additional training as a fellow up in Boston at Boston Medical Center at the Whitaker Cardiovascular Institute. And really, ever since I was in LSU in the early 2000s, late 90s, and this whole science around nitric oxide exploded. A Nobel Prize had just been awarded for its discovery. It was a critically important molecule we knew a little bit about, but really there were so many unanswered questions. And that was really what started my career in nitric oxide. And really, from that point on, for the past 25 years, we've really just tried to answer four fundamental questions. Number one, how does the human body make nitric oxide? What goes wrong in people that can't make it? How do they present clinically? What happens when you can't make nitric oxide? And then most importantly, I think, is how do we restore the natural production of nitric oxide in the human body? And today we've accomplished all four of those. We have answers to those. We have clear scientific evidence on, all of those questions. So, but nitric oxide is what we call a signaling molecule. It's a gas. It's naturally produced in the lining of the blood vessels. It controls tissue oxygenation, blood flow, circulation, inflammation, mobilizes stem cells, prevents telomeres from shortening, enhances sexual performance, exercise performance, cognitive performance. So it's a foundational molecule. The older we get, the less we make, and that's what's responsible for age-related disease.
Tell us a little bit more about the oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm missing a word right now. The prize that it got, the
Nobel Prize.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so really the science started in the late 70s, early 80s, where it was discovered that drugs like nitroglycerin that had been used for hundreds of years for the treatment of acute angina. And Fred Murad published in 1977 that these drugs are working because they're metabolized into nitric oxide gas. Nitric oxide activates a second messenger system, which leads to smooth muscle relaxation and vasodilation. So that's what leads to dilation of the coronary arteries in patients with ischemic heart disease. So that was 1977. In 1980, Bob Furchgott discovered that our endothelial cells, these cells that line all blood vessels throughout the body, produced a substance that causes blood vessels to relax or dilate. And he called this endothelium-derived relaxing factor, or EDRF. Very important. I think, one of the most important discoveries in vascular biology. And then 7 years later, it was Lou Ignara.
Why? Why is it the most important? Like I've got a really strong audience that are practitioners, and then I'd say half are about lay people. So can you break that down just a little bit more?
Well, prior to the 1980s, it was thought the endothelium acts as a barrier to keep things in the blood supply versus in the interstitium and out of the circulation. And in different organ systems, there's different types of endothelial cells. There's like the blood-brain barrier where it's very tight. Then there's in the liver where you have what we call fenestrated endothelium, where there's like a sieve and a filter. So prior to that, it was thought that it acts as a barrier and does for the kind of the transport of molecules, very selective, very specific transport barrier. But because this discovery in 1980, the endothelium produces substance that actually regulates vascular tone, that it makes an endothelium-derived relaxing factor that then regulates blood flow, oxygenation. So then the question was, what is this molecule? Because if you can understand what this molecule is, then you can start to develop drug therapy around mitigating or enhancing this or recapitulating this effect. So it took them 7 years to figure out that this molecule described by Bob Furchgott in 1980 was actually nitric oxide gas. And that was a completely new paradigm in cell signaling. That's what warranted the Nobel Prize, that the signal transduction by a gas that readily permeates cell membranes, goes through cells kind of non-specifically, non-selectively, is regulating a number of important biological functions, including regulation of blood flow, blood pressure, sexual function. So that's what warranted the Nobel Prize, was the signal transduction by gas, a completely new paradigm in cell signaling.
I was shocked to find out at how many different functions that nitric oxide is actually a part of. And then, like you said, as we age, part of a lot of the reasons, men have a hard time, and women, with sexual arousal and the blood flow and all that fun stuff, had to do with lowering nitric oxide, and I'm a woman in my mid 40s, and that's kind of what got me started on it, is, looking for ways to help, and as we age. And like I said, I was just fascinated by all the different other results, all the other benefits. Could you get into some of those?
Yeah, well, once you understand what nitric oxide is and what it does and how it's produced, it makes perfect sense. So when we look at kind of sexual dysfunction, it's really to get an erection in both men and women, by the way, you have to have an increase in blood flow. That increase in blood flow comes from production of nitric oxide. So if you can't make nitric oxide, you can't dilate the blood vessels, you don't get engorgement, and that's the definition of sexual dysfunction. But that's just one vascular bed, right? The same thing happens in the blood vessels of the coronary arteries. The same thing happens in the blood vessels of the brain, the kidneys, the lungs. So if you can't make nitric oxide to increase blood flow to the sex organs, you can't make nitric oxide to increase blood flow to certain regions of the brain, the liver, the kidney, the heart, all organs of the body. So that's fundamental how we regulate blood flow throughout the body. But in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was discovered that nitric oxide is the signal that tells our own stem cells, our resident stem cells, to mobilize, differentiate, and replace and repair dysfunctional cells. So, we don't run out of stem cells the older we get. We lose the ability to mobilize our stem cells. The stem cells don't get the signal because we lose nitric oxide. And we all know now in this field of regenerative medicine that longevity and health span is dependent upon mobilization of our own stem cells to get rid of senescent cells, zombie cells, replace cells, dysfunctional cells, and replace them with cells that work properly. And that's the objective of our stem cells. And then the other kind of hallmarks of longevity are the ends of our chromosomes called the telomeres. And nitric oxide activates telomerase activity, prevents telomere shortening. And then the other important thing in terms of performance and really energy production is that nitric oxide induces mitochondrial biogenesis and improves the efficiency of cellular energy production with less oxygen. So nitric oxide is foundational for everything we know about health, longevity, and optimal human performance.
Awesome. So it can also be used as a mitochondrial support because we're hearing a lot of buzz these days about mitochondrial health, which we should. That's really where all a lot of this energy production and everything,
For sure.
stems from is our mitochondria. And for those of us with chronic disease, our detox buckets are kind of full. It has a tendency to damage and disrupt mitochondria, and we feel like crap. And so I think that was another reason why nitric oxide, felt like the lights came back on in my brain for the first time in a long time.
Well, yeah, when you talk about detoxification, it's basically mobilizing those toxins and excreting them. If your cardiovascular system isn't working, you don't have good blood flow, how can you mobilize and excrete those toxins? So what nitric oxide does, it dilates the blood vessels. So now you're getting good oxygen and nutrients into the cells. Hopefully those cells are performing. You can detox them. You put them back in your bloodstream, and now you circulate it through the kidneys, through the liver, through your lungs, and you excrete through deep breathing, through urination, defecation, and sweating. I mean, if you're not doing those 4 or 5 things, then you're going to get toxins to build up because we live in a very toxic world.
Absolutely. There's some weird misinformation out there about nitric oxide. Can you talk a little bit about that? And are there any contraindications with nitric oxide? And is there a person who shouldn't be taking it?
No, look, it's a naturally produced molecule. I mean, there's dose dictates poison, right? If we drink too much water over a short period of time, it'll kill us. But water is absolutely essential. So it's the same thing with nitric oxide. And what we try to do is different than any other company or people out there is we understand how the human body makes nitric oxide. We know how much this molecule, the body makes of this molecule. So what we do is we give back. It's called restorative physiology. We give back to the body what's missing. And it's no different than hormone replacement therapy. If you're deficient in estrogen or testosterone, what do? We give you estrogen and testosterone. If you're deficient in nitric oxide, we give you nitric oxide gas. We don't give you precursors and substrates and close our eyes and cross our fingers and hope your body can make nitric oxide out of it. That's the basis of your deficiency. So the misconceptions are that nitric oxide is this toxic, damaging, free radical. Those people are just either uninformed or I think misinformed. So there is truth to that. Nitric oxide is a free radical. And what that means is that it has an unpaired electron in its outer orbital. But you associate things like hydroxyl radicals, superoxide radical, oxygen radicals. Those are toxic, damaging, oxidizing molecules because they steal electrons from other molecules. But nitric oxide, because it's a nitrogen and an oxygen bond, there's a difference in polarity. It's what we call a dipole moment. And that it goes back to inorganic chemistry. So nitric oxide actually donates that electron. And any electron donating species is a reducing agent, right? Reduction is a loss or gain of an electron, and oxidation is a loss of an electron. So Nitric oxide is a reducing agent, donates its electron, and prevents oxidative stress and reduces inflammation. So that's the biggest misconception out there, is that nitric oxide, it's a free radical. It binds to cytochrome C oxidase of mitochondria, shuts down mitochondrial respiration, and it's a toxic molecule. And that's simply not true. Those people just don't understand basic biochemistry.
What about how it plays with methylene blue? Because I'm also a huge methylene blue fan, and there's been a lot of misinformation around that as well. And I finally, got a decent answer from another party, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, going back 30 or 40 years, we've used methylene blue in the research lab to inhibit nitric oxide production and inhibit nitric oxide signaling. In fact, the entire nitric oxide pathway was elucidated by use of methylene blue. So it completely shuts down nitric oxide production. Obviously, this is, I think, a dose-dependent effect. So microdosing, we just don't know. But here's what's clear. Methylene blue at certain concentration completely shuts down nitric oxide production. And so I caution people who use methylene blue, there's probably a time and a place to use it clinically and therapeutically. But using this as a biohack is probably not a good idea, because anything that inhibits nitric oxide production is going to increase inflammation. It's going to decrease circulation, decrease tissue oxygenation, and affect mitochondrial function. Now, how this is doing in the microdosing is yet to be elucidated. But I can tell you unequivocally that methylene blue at certain doses completely shuts down nitric oxide production and nitric oxide signaling.
And we definitely don't want that.
You don't want that. And, I think there was a book written by some guy. He's a journalist. He's not even a scientist. I think that started this whole conversation. And I think to sell more methylene blue and to bring this front and center, he knew it inhibited nitric oxide production. So he just changed the narrative on, oh, methylene blue is good because it shuts down nitric oxide production. No, methylene
Right,
blue
because
may be doing other
nitric
benefits.
oxide is a free radical, that's causing
Yeah,
oxidative stress. And I think that's what I was reading, and I was like, wait, what? Here I was, this huge fan of nitric oxide. I think I read that book, because I'm in the Lyme world and they're using it. It's showing great for, Bartonella, for COVID, for lots of different things. And I'm getting on the board with the methylene blue, and then I'm reading it and it's, disparaging, talking, crap about nitric oxide. And I'm like, wait, what? And my head hurt.
That's why you have to put very little credence in somebody who's talking about a complex science who's not a scientist. I mean, he's a journalist, for God's sake. Stick to journalism. Let the scientists stick to the real science of how biochemistry and enzymology and physiology work.
Yeah, there's a very popular doctor running around with a methylene blue product, and I love him dearly. And I'm not a fan of the PEG in his product, like, at all. Like, I don't think people should have byproducts of petroleum in their systems. I just I struggle with it. So I mean, yeah, like I said, nitric oxide was my original homie, and I did use methylene blue for.
Like I said, there is a place for
Exactly.
methylene blue. And I
Exactly.
think for people who have chronic illness, there's probably but you don't have to, you don't necessarily have to ascribe the benefits of methylene blue because it inhibits nitric oxide production. There is enormous redundancy and off-target effects of everything that you take inside your body, right? So you can have benefits in certain disease conditions, and methylene blue is in the pharmacopoeia. It's an essential medicine for certain conditions. So I'm not against it. My caution is for people who are otherwise healthy and involved in this biohacking field that want to do this kind of prophylactically and just take it because it's a sizzle, it's fashionable. And just understand mechanistically what this is doing inside your body so you can take proper precaution. That's my message.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's why I said you and I have been trying to do this podcast for a while, and then I got booked, and then because this is why, I remember running into you at Dragonfly, not this year, but the year before. And I was just so disheartened. I was like, nitric oxide. And you're like, no, calm down. So I so appreciate you. This is a really good spot. We're going to take a quick break for a commercial. When we come back, we'll dive deeper in to nitric oxide, some of its benefits, why your product is different than others out there, and anything else when you decide to go down the rabbit hole. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Dr. Nathan Bryan here with our N101 nitric oxide orally disintegrating tablet. Nitric oxide is a gas, so how do we deliver a bioactive gas in a solid dose form? We've created a solid dose form of bioactive gas. This lozenge, which is designed to have a resident time of 5 to 6 minutes. So you take this lozenge, you put it in your mouth, don't chew it, don't swallow it. Let it dissolve. As it's dissolving, it's releasing a certain amount of nitric oxide over a certain period of time. And that release of nitric oxide is designed to recapitulate nitric oxide production and nitric oxide signaling. So if your body can't make nitric oxide for whatever reason, this product delivers it for you. But more importantly, the technology in this lozenge recouples the NOS enzyme, so we improve endothelial function. We improve the body's ability to make nitric oxide on its own. And because it's an orally disintegrating tablet that sits on the top of the tongue and moves around, it's killing the bad bacteria. It's maintaining the diversity of the oral microbiome. We're improving the nitrate-reducing bacteria, so we're improving the oral microbiome. So this product generates nitric oxide and improves the body's ability to make nitric oxide through both pathways, endothelial nitric oxide production through restoration of the oral microbiome. There's no other product on the market that does what this product does. This is an orally disintegrating tablet that releases nitric oxide. We can quantify it, we can detect it, we can verify it. So if your body can't make nitric oxide, we do it for you. N101 activating lozenges. Get it today.
Is there a way to naturally boost your energy and immune system to help you power through your day? Need to shave off extra pounds while eliminating toxic sludge from your body? Want a glow that makeup can't provide? Millions of women trust the world-famous ISO Detox Tea and other proven products from Total Life Changes. Our products are 100% natural and proven safe, even for children. Try our best-selling NutriBurst liquid vitamins, the Chewy and NRG to sustain feel-good energy all day. For coffee lovers, we have the deliciously smooth Delgada coffee, guaranteed to brighten your morning while enhancing your overall wellness.
I've lost weight. My ADHD symptoms have gotten way better. My bowels are moving better than they ever have, and my energy and focus are amazing. Go to the show notes to see how you can either just use the products yourself as a customer, or if you want to add an extra income stream to your life, selling these amazing life-changing products. Either way, it's up to you. You have a choice. You don't have to go into the business. You can just try the products and use them for yourself. Either way, go to the show notes to learn more. Yay, welcome back.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, you listed off, I think, 4 things, and you rattled them off so fast that I didn't have a chance to write them down. So can we circle back to those 4 key parts?
Kind of benefits of nitric oxide?
Yeah.
Well, what we try to do is look at what are the hallmarks of chronic disease, right? And so when you look at what occurs in things like Alzheimer's, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, autoimmune disease, or even kidney disease or pulmonary disease, there's always decreased blood flow to that organ. There's inflammation, oxidative stress, and immune dysfunction. It doesn't make a damn what chronic disease you're looking at. That's the hallmarks of all of them. And so the importance of nitric oxide is it basically addresses all 4 of those. It's a vasodilator, so it improves blood flow to the affected organ. It reduces inflammation, it inhibits oxidative stress, and it prevents the immune dysfunction that we see. So that single molecule restoring the production of nitric oxide addresses the root cause and the hallmarks of every single chronic disease. So that's in kind of chronic disease management. But if you just look at human optimization and what it does and the benefits in the human body, it's a laundry list, but it's regulating blood flow and circulation, tissue oxygenation, improving mitochondrial function, preventing telomeres from shortening, and it's mobilizing our own stem cells. So one molecule doing all that, I mean, that's why it's foundational. It's not a silver bullet, it's not a panacea, but what's clear to me, 25 years in this field, is your body cannot and will not heal or be optimal without sufficient nitric oxide production.
You know what I think is so cool about it is one of the few products out there that you can actually test, right? And see kind of, where you're at in your body. Because so often, you'll take these supplements and you're like, I don't know if it's working or not, or if I've got the right levels. I've taught my clients how to titrate properly, but so you still don't know. So how cool is it that you can, there's test strips out there that you can buy to kind of see what your level is and then take something and then retest.
Yeah, I developed those test strips about 15 years ago. I don't really use them anymore because what we found was that, they're a good tool to have in your toolbox, right? So they have some utility. And so what it's telling us is does your body have the capacity to recycle inorganic nitrate, which is an inert molecule, and do you have the right oral bacteria to do this? So, but what we do, kind of broadly speaking, is we test our products and we actually determine if they produce nitric oxide. And we've become kind of unpopular with our competitors because we put their products to the test and we compare it to our products. And so my products, anything that I develop, we can detect and quantify nitric oxide gas, right? Where everybody else is giving you precursors and substrates and hoping your body can convert those into nitric oxide. Well, that doesn't work. I'm not interested in developing a product that works in 10% of the population. You know, we spent 25 years understanding nitric oxide biochemistry, enzymology, and physiology to where I wouldn't develop a product until I felt confident that we had technology that would work in every single person who took it, no matter if they're using mouthwash, fluoride, antacids, if they've got Lyme disease or viral disease or anything. We have to deliver nitric oxide. If your body can't make it, we do it for you. And that's the difference in our products than anybody else out there.
So you had said something about the oral microbiome, and I said something about the increased saliva production after taking nitric oxide. Can you talk a little bit about the correlation between the oral microbiome and nitric oxide?
Yeah, so about 20 years ago, it was first revealed that outside the enzymatic production of nitric oxide in the lining of the blood vessel, it was revealed that there are bacteria that live on the crypts of the tongue, that if you have these bacteria, you can detect increased nitric oxide being produced in the exhaled breath and in the lumen of the stomach. So now, fast forward 25 years, we understand how this process works. So when we eat things like green leafy vegetables, that's enriched in inorganic nitrate, that molecule, nitrate, is taken up in the duodenum, which is the proximal gut, and then concentrated in our salivary glands. So now each time we salivate, we excrete nitrate, and if we have the right oral bacteria, we're increasing salivary flow, we're increasing nitrate exposure to those bacteria. Those bacteria reduce nitrate to nitrite. Now our saliva is enriched in nitrite, and we swallow our own saliva. The pKa of nitrite is 3.4, so as long as we have sufficient stomach acid production, we're getting a burst of nitric oxide production, nitric oxide gas in the lumen of the stomach every time we swallow our saliva. So, you know, I joke, but it's real. You know, our mom was, when we were young, your mom probably told you too, right? Eat your vegetables and don't spit. Well, they're fueling nitric oxide production because by eating vegetables, getting nitrate, and swallowing our saliva and not spitting, we're producing nitric oxide continuously. But as you mentioned, it depends upon adequate salivary flow. It depends upon oral bacteria. So people who use mouthwash or use fluoride in their toothpaste completely eradicate these bacteria and they shut down nitric oxide production.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with me, it was a correlation too of low stomach acid, because you were talking about stomach acid being another part to that phase as well.
Yeah, you have to have stomach acid in order, number one, in order to break down proteins into amino acid to absorb nutrients and to make nitric oxide. And now we have data from proton pump inhibitors, these drugs that have been on the market for 20 or 30 years. And there's clear evidence now, published data, that people who have been on PPIs for 3 to 5 years have a 40% incidence, a higher incidence of heart attack, stroke, and Alzheimer's. And mechanistically, we know because it's completely shutting down nitric oxide production. So plaques become unstable, they rupture, heart attack, stroke. It's decreasing blood flow to the brain. It's causing insulin resistance, and that's diabetes type 3 or Alzheimer's. That's a nitric oxide problem.
Unbelievable. So tell us a little bit about your product and how you make it. I know you've got an oral product and then a facial product.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your products and how they're different.
Well, years ago, I figured out how to make nitric oxide gas in a solid dose form. So we make a solid dose form of nitric oxide gas. It's an orally disintegrating tablet, and it's designed to dissolve over 5 to 6 minutes in your mouth. So you put it in your mouth, the solution chemistry starts to occur, this matrix falls apart, and we produce nitric oxide gas. So if your body can't make nitric oxide, we do it for you. And so, but we're also restoring the normal flora, recapitulating this and restoring the production of the good bacteria, and we're restoring the function of the enzyme in the lining of the blood vessels. So if your body can't make nitric oxide, we do it for you, but we're improving your body's ability to make it through these natural production pathways. So that's the N101 nitric oxide lozenge. We also make a fermented beet powder called NO beets. We take out the oxalates, the beet pulp, the beet color, the beet taste, and make a fermented beet powder that produces nitric oxide gas. And we add ATP and we add electrolytes to that. So a great pre-workout or energy product.
Mhm.
And then once I figured out how to make nitric oxide, I had a lot of people in aesthetics and dermatology go, can you make a topical nitric oxide for acne, for skincare, for anti-aging, for fine lines and wrinkles? So I developed a dual chamber nitric oxide topical product called N101 nitric oxide activating serum. And it's a dual chamber bottle. You take one pump from each side of that and mix it together and apply it to wherever body part you want to increase blood flow. And so you actually see this product working right before your eyes, because when you apply it, your skin will turn pink, and that's due to the increase in blood flow. So we're improving blood flow to the skin, or to the cells of the skin and the dermis. And again, the skin is an organ, one of our largest organs. If you don't have adequate blood flow, that organ fails. You develop fine lines and wrinkles, dermatitis, inflammation. So providing topical nitric oxide improves the tone, texture, and clarity of the skin. Fine lines and wrinkles go away.
Because you're really 105, right?
Yes.
I mean, I swear to God, every time I see you, I have to do a double take. You're like Benjamin Button. Like I feel like you're aging backwards. I'm like, how is it he's getting how does he do that? But I remember what you do for a living and what you're using. And so,
Well, I'm a product of the product. I mean, I
yep.
walk the walk and talk the talk, and it's, it's self-discipline, but these products, I don't put products out there that don't work. And it's just, that's what makes us different. I mean, I have a scientific reputation and credibility in this field for the past 25 years. And, it takes decades to build credibility and reputation, and you can ruin it overnight with one bad decision or launching one bad product.
Oh, absolutely. So is there a way that we can increase nitric oxide naturally, like through breath work, say?
No, of course. So I tell people you have to do two things. You got to stop doing the things that disrupt nitric oxide production and then start doing the things that promote it. So what does that mean? Stop using mouthwash. Get rid of fluoride in your toothpaste. And if you're taking antacids, you have to stop. Wean off of them over time. So once you do that, now your body's actually primed to make nitric oxide. So how can we stimulate and activate? Well, we can do nasal breathing, deep breathing. That enzyme that's found in our lining of our blood vessels is also found in our nasal epithelium. So when we do deep breathing, nasal breathing, that activates nitric oxide, lowers blood pressure, relaxes you, improves tissue oxygenation. Moderate physical exercise, as little as 2 to 4 minutes of high intensity interval training can stimulate and activate nitric oxide production. 20 to 30 minutes of sunlight exposure or infrared light. I'm a big infrared light fan. I use light therapy, can activate nitric oxide and stimulate nitric oxide release topically, or at least a couple of millimeters into the tissue. So those are the big ones. And then just a balanced diet in moderation. Avoid sugar, avoid carbohydrates. Sugars acts like a glue. It sticks to proteins and enzymes and completely shuts down nitric oxide production.
Absolutely.
That's simple.
I love it. That simple. You're like mic drop, and you've cracked me up. You eat such like a Texan, but I mean, just a very well-rounded, you got your meat, you baked potato, you got something green on your plate. Like, it's beautiful. It's all the things that you need.
Well, it's clean food. It's, I try to avoid processed foods, and, we grow our own beef, we raise our own vegetables, and it's just, it's the only way to go. But it takes a lot of
definitely coming to visit now.
Yeah, come on.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh. I just knew I was going to enjoy this conversation so much. Thank you. Is there any last little thing that you kind of want to leave us with before we sign off?
I try to encourage people to get educated, informed. I got my own YouTube channel, Dr. Nathan S. Bryan Nitric Oxide. We'll do videos, lectures, interviews like this. We'll put it on there. I've got a new book coming out late winter, early spring called The Secret of Nitric Oxide, Bringing Nitric Oxide to Life. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, I've got an educational website, drnathansbryan.com. Those of you interested in our product technology, it's n101.com. That's the letter N, the number one, the letter O, number one.com, n101.com.
Absolutely. And I know I'll have an affiliate link in the show notes. So if you're wanting to get your product, I know I need to order some more myself. Like the whole time I'm talking to you, I was like, oh, I need to put in my order.
I know a guy.
Okay. Alrighty. Awesome. Thank you again for joining us. I really so appreciate you. Everyone else, make sure to have a healthy day. Thanks.
Thank you, Heather.
If you learned anything, even one little nugget in any episode, please do not keep us a secret. Like, share, subscribe, and leave a review on Apple, on Spotify. That is how we get this information out there and we change this paradigm one person at a time. I can't do it by myself. I need your help. Also, make sure to know that disclaimer, anything that you hear on this, you cannot hold Discovering Health LLC, Renegade Health Boss, The Line Boss, Heather Gray, liable for anything. Always consult your doctor before doing anything new. Do not take this as medical advice. This is your disclaimer. And then also, if you want to know the foundations of health, right? All that I talk about on how I get healthy, the absolute foundation: sleep, diet, exercise, what to eat, toxins, how to detox mold, all of it. You can get it in your own course at rhbcourses.com. Right? Start your healing journey today, as little as $79. Start today, rhbcourses.com. Stay tuned and thanks for joining us.